All right, so this is new Java project. I'm going to say F 9.2 interacting. Okay, let me go here, new package. Right. And we're going to put in new class in. And we're going to go new class examples. So get rid of that guy. And open it up here. And as well, I'm going to put in a file here. So this is going to be text.txt. Okay. Okay. Now, with no text in it. Okay, so it doesn't matter. Right. So I am going to go close off that guy. All right. So we are going to go here. I got static void ex1. Okay. And so this is first method we're going to go here is get name count. Okay, so what these are various methods of NIO.2. Now, so I'll say this here as well again. So first point, acknowledge about paths and their methods is that like file objects, okay, like file objects, many operations can be accomplished, whether the path is a file or directory that actually exists. Okay, so a file object, there's the methods of the file class, and a lot of them will work regardless whether there's actually a file or directory at that particular location. Okay, paths are the same way. So a lot of the methods of the path interface will work where there's actually a file or directory actually there. Okay, now, so we are going to create a path here. We're going to create a path to, so I'm going to create a path to, so it's in my C drive. I have a Java code, and we're going to create a path to examples.java, or main.java. Okay, so there, that's, so what path are we going to create a path to? It's going to be C/Java code and main.java. Okay, so we're going to create a path to that file so it actually exists. Should shut down this guy. Okay, let's clear all drawings. So, and we go. We got path. Path is equal to paths.get. Okay, now I have to import that guy. So we are going to put in this is an absolute path, so D. I'm going to go Java code going to come main.java. Okay, so this file actually exists. This is an absolute path. Now, if it doesn't exist on your own system, create it. All right. It doesn't matter if it's an actual valid Java file. All it does, it doesn't test the authenticity of the file. It doesn't test to see if is it actually a real Java file. All it's looking for is the name. Okay. It's not testing it to see that it works or not. It's not testing to see does it compile or not. It's just testing to see does it exist. That's all we care about. Does it exist or not? All right. Now, so if I go, so here, if I just print off path. Okay, I'm gonna go here to main, and I go. Right, so that will print off the path. Okay, so if I go here, the path is, and it's an absolute path, so it'll print off the whole lot of it. Okay, now, so the first method we're going to do of NIO.2 is this guy. It's called get name count. Okay. Now, so let's try to explain and to show it first. So if I go, now this is amount of items in this path is. So if I go here, I go path.getNameCount. Should give us 2. All right. Now, what getNameCount does, should be able to see what it does, is that it counts how many objects are in our path. All right. Be they files or be they directories. All right. Now, so it gives us 2 because it doesn't count. Now, this guy here, oh, sorry, that's the wrong one, by the way. That should be C. All right, I don't know why I put in D there. All right, so I'll change that to C. Now, when you use get path.getNameCount, it'll include it's a count of all the directories and all of the files in our path. Here, it's going to be 2, because it counts that guy and that guy. Now, it does not count. Now, the base drive, that's called the root. Okay, so the base drive is called the root. So what does this do? So I'm going to put it in here. So this will get the amount of elements in the path. Okay, it does not include the drive. Better. Okay, more commonly called root, or if it's FTP or HTTP does not include that either. Okay. Right. So it does not include FTP either. Now, if I want to create another path, so if I go path2 is equal to paths.get, and this is going to be text.txt. Okay. Now, what does this path? So that is a relative path. All right. Make sure that it exists. Path2 that exists. Path2 that exists. What's the command again to find out if a path is real or not? Just give me a second. Fuck it, I'm forgetting it. It's files.exist. Okay, so it is files.exists path2. Now that should give us true. Okay, so that exists. Now I'm going to type out, we're going to get the full absolute path of that. So I'm going to say path2 dot exist, path2 got 2 absolute path. All right. So this will be true. And this will print off the absolute path. So here's the absolute path. Right, so there's the absolute path. So if I run get name count on this, it should be getting, we count them. So we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, so it counts everything. So it counts all, so what it counts is directories or files. That's all it counts, okay? It only counts directories or files. Anything else, it does not count. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it should not print. It should not get C. So I want to count how many elements are in this path. So if I go here, so amount of elements in this path is, I go path2 dot get name count. Okay. Amount of elements in this path is 1. Right. I need to come back to that.
Does that work, Noel, for relative paths?
Yeah, that's what's wrong. It depends how you construct them. So do you know what? We are going to comment out all of that shit for now. Okay. So I'm going to comment out all of that guy. Right. So this guy here gets us the, yeah, it's all to do with the way the constructed. I forgot that. All right, so we'll just go this one at a time. I took a few too many steps there, so we'll just leave this. We're coming to this part. All right, we're coming to this part. All right, so we have created an absolute path. Right, we have created a path like so. All right, now if I create a path, yeah, so path name dot get name count. Okay. Now, so what will that get? That will get 2. All right. Let me just try something else here for a second. So bear with me a second here. All right. Then I go. Just see that work. Okay, so that does work. Right, now try that. Okay, so if I go here, path 3 is equal to path.get URI. And that guy, fuck off, hold on. And now see, does that work? Try that guy. Now I go sy path 3 dot get name count. Doesn't work. Hold on. Chairs doesn't recognize that. Shit. Yeah. Okay, right. We'll just continue on. All right. So, all right. I'll just try it this way. So I'll try creating a path this way. So path 3 is equal to paths.get this guy, that. Close off this. Close off that. All right, now we'll see, does that get us that's what I saw. 3.get name 7. Yeah, good. Okay, right. So for now, we'll say that this get name count only works with absolute paths, which is not strictly speaking true, but we'll work with it. All right. So what I've done here is I have created an absolute path. Now this absolute path has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
right. So path3.getNameCount, what that does is that will print off 7. All right. We'll print off 7. So this will print off 7. As there is 7 elements in this path, excluding the drive letter. Now, if you include the drive letter, there will be 8, but we're not including the drive letter. All right. Now, so we can do something like this. If we want to print off, so I can do a for loop. So for int I is equal to 0. Okay. I is, oops, shit. I is less than path 3 dot get name count, which is 7, and then it's going to be I plus plus. All right. So I'm going to do this 2 things. Okay. So I'm going to go element name is, I'm going to go path 3 dot get name I. So what this does is this will get the name of each one of them. Okay, so this will be text.txt. It'll be interacting with path and files. It will be workspace 2. It'll be Java Java Programmer 2019-2020. It'll be OneDrive. It'll be NoLF. It'll be users. Okay. The next part is path. I just go path3.get name I. I'll run it because I'm not too sure what this one produces. Get file name. Right. So I'm going to run this. So getting details of our path. Now, right, get name. So element name is users. Now, this actually does the same thing. path3.get name and path3.get name.get file name. I don't know why. Let me just see if I do this. What does that get us? Okay, right. Okay. All right. This guy here. What this gets us is this gets us the endpoint, which is text.txt. This guy here gets us the name of each element. See that? Do we all see that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So path3.get file name. I'll take it out of there. Okay. So if I go path, so a file at this location is path3.get file name. Okay, so path3.get file name. So this will get the name of all the elements in the path. Okay, so you can see it goes down through them all. So it'll get the name of all the elements, including the final element, which will be text.txt. Okay, now this will get final element, which is the product of the whole path. Now, because these, when we're talking about paths, really what you're talking about is, so this is a path to this file. All right, so all of this produces access to this file. Yes? So you could say that all of this path, the product of this path is that guy. Do you understand that? Yes?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, get file name should also work for directories. Should. Stress the, so if I go path4 is equal to paths.get. And if I do this, so that's what I'm going to use. All right, and this is on the next line. Now, if I go get file name for this guy, so if I go path4.get file name, it should say F9.2 interacting with paths and files. I guess. No, it doesn't.
No, is that because the lines are the wrong way? The slashes are the wrong way.
Oh, they are too. Fuck yeah, fuck yeah, fuck yeah. of the area. Sorry. Okay, that one is the wrong way anyway. All right, so it is that one. All right, so now, yeah, okay. So again, this will get the final element, which will be this guy. Which is text.txt. Okay. Now, so let's see. So now you need to be careful that when you're using these, you always need to remember. Now, as we're going to be going along, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be getting the amount of elements that are in a particular path. All right. Now, so we don't know, we have a relative path. All right. We've been given a relative path, but we don't know the what folders that's in. All right. We've been given a relative path, but we don't actually know the structure. We don't know what directories there in between. So what you're going to be doing is, we have a relative path, let's say, of names.txt. Okay, and we're assuming that this is on another system. We don't know the directory structure. All right, but we would do a get name count on that dude. Okay, get name.count on that dude, and let's say we could see that there's 15, which wouldn't be that unusual. So that means there's 15 elements in it, and we want to read a file. Now we know there's going to be a file called home.txt. Now it's going to be in not its parent folder, but in the folder above that. Okay, we know that there's a file called home.txt not in its parent folder, but in the folder above that. So you're going to end up with something like this, which will be ... home.txt. All right, so even though you don't know the names of the folders, all right, you don't know the names of the folders, you know that your application is, what it's actually doing is it's putting a file called home.txt not in its parent folder, but in the folder above that. So even though you don't know the name of the folders, you're still able to access home.txt. Is everyone okay with that? Yes?
Yes.
Yeah. Because the way you do it is, you know there's 15 elements in the file. You know that 2 folders above it, so it would be, you can also create from this as well. You can also, if the folders don't exist, if you get the amount of folders that you need, it can automatically create 14 folders for you. All right. Now it can give them random names or it can give them actual names. So we have to have a directory structure that has 14 folders in one file. Okay. How do we know there's 14 folders in one file? It's because we've used a get name count. We know there should be 15 folders in it. So by using get name count, we can use that to create the amount of folders we need. Say that it's 14. We're copying from one system to another system. The other system has 14 folders, and inside the 14 folder, there's a file called home.txt. How do we know there's 14 folders? Because we've counted the amount of elements there is on the other system. Okay, and then we want to put home not in the 15th folder, but in the 13th folder. That's the sort of thing we are going to be doing. Okay.
No.
Yeah.
No. Just one. does the get count work with relative paths? I thought we said it didn't work there.
It kind of does and it kind of doesn't. Okay. You have to start using other methods with the keyring. Strictly
All right.
speaking,
Okay. Yeah.
strictly speaking, no, but there is workarounds. All right. So strictly speaking, it only works with absolute paths, but there is workarounds. All right. Now,
okay.
Navigating through files can get complicated enough. There's no two ways about it. So ideally, what you really want to be doing is any sort of files you're saving them. If you save them in your own application, you're going to be grand. All right. If you're just creating files and they're all being saved in your application, then you're fine. It's when you start saving outside your own application, that's where the issues start. That's where you have to know all these symbols, ... // and it can get very complicated very quickly. So ideally, anything you're going to do, any files are going to be saving, any files are going to be accessing them, have them inside your own application, and then there's no problem. All right. Now you can save to an external file, but there is classes that will do that for you rather than using this crack. All right. But we have to know it for the exam. All right. Now, so what this does is this counts the amount of elements in your file or in your path. Now, if I do something like this, so that's a while loop. Now, I'm going to go down here. Now, I'm going to create a path here. I'm going to call this path rel path. Okay, is equal to paths dot get. Now, I am going to go, this is not going to be, so this is going to be a relative path, src. src com android examples.java. Now, so if I go here, the relative path has, if I go here, it goes rel path dot get name count elements. Now, if I print off that, gives us 4 elements. All right. Because when you're putting in a relative path, all right, when you're putting in a relative path, it doesn't count. Now, strictly speaking, there is ways around this. Okay, when you're putting in a relative path, it doesn't put in, that is our relative path. All right, it doesn't count that at all. All right, so when you're putting in a relative path, it doesn't count the relative path at all. So this is only going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now there, as I said, there is a workaround this. There is a way for you to count all of these guys. All right, but strictly speaking, if you have a relative path, the folders leading up to your relative path namely, in this case, these. Okay, that's my relative path, different for you. Okay, so if you have a relative path, the folders leading up to relative path, namely in this case, blah, 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 is not counted at all. Okay, so this is a relative path. All it does is it counts 1, 2, 3, 4. Does everyone understand that?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. So when it's a relative path, the relative path itself is not counted. All right? But there is a way around that. All right? There is a way around that. Now it is, we'll be doing it, yeah, we'll get to it today. It's a method called relativize. I can't even pronounce that right. Okay? So if you will, the folder's leader name in this case, it's not counted at all. So this below here only counts, only returns 4. Okay, source 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, right now, so technically, yes, it does work with relative paths, but it doesn't count in the actual relative path itself. Okay, it only counts what's additional to the relative path. All right, so if I go rel path is equal to paths dot get text.txt. Okay, and I'm going to count this. It is rel path dot rel dot get name count. Going to be 1. Okay, so this will only return 1. As the elements preceding this, the relative path folder, are not counted. Okay, so if you are using get name count with the relative path, it only counts what's additional to the actual relative path. It doesn't count any of those. Okay, it only goes 1, 2, 3, 4. This will return 4. This one here will return 1. Now, it's also possible to return 0 from this. All right. Now, how do you return 0 from this? If I go path root is equal to paths get okay, and I go root dot get name count. Now, it doesn't matter that D doesn't exist. All right, doesn't matter that D doesn't exist. So I'll change that to C for a minute. That's going to give 0. Okay, I change it to I go here. Okay, they both return 0. I could even change this. Is equal to. I'm going to change it to D / home web my web site index.html. Now, doesn't matter that this doesn't exist. 1, 2, 3, 4. That will return 4. Okay, so this will return 0. Not because, no, that does exist, because the root element, the drive, is not counted. Also here, does not matter that this does not exist. All it's doing is checking the string. All right, it's not checking if it exists or not. It's just, so this does not exist, it's just checking the string. All right, similarly, this one here does not matter that this does not exist. It's just checking the string. This will return 4. This will return 0. Everyone with me so far, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, right. So that's get name count. So strictly speaking, get name count, it does work with relative paths, but what it does is it doesn't count the actual relative path. It only counts the elements that are in addition to the relative path. So it'll only count 4 here. It'll count, so 4. This will be this will be 1. Okay. Now, okay, so we're going to do another one. So this is going to be static void. Okay. Now, so I'm going to create a path that doesn't exist. Is equal to paths.get, and I'm going to go D Java code. I'm going to call it animal. I'm going to say monkey. I'm going to say ape. I'm going to say human.txt. Now, file doesn't exist, but we don't care. Okay, so as I've already done above here as well, I'll just show you get file name. This is get file name. What does get file name is? So this will get the element furthest from the root. Now, the root is that guy. Okay, so the furthest from the root is human.txt. So if I go here, path.get file name, that should get us human.txt. On that, go to examples. There it is. Now, it doesn't, so get file name is a bit of a misnomer because it doesn't have to be a file. So if I create another one, now this one does exist. Path is equal to path dot get. We have C and we have Java code. Oops, wrong way around. Doesn't matter that there's only one element there. Java code, let's say, I want to say there. Yeah. So now I actually will put a folder inside there. So Java code, create a folder. I'm going to call the folder dir. Okay, so I have a new folder there called dir. Now, so this is going to return dir. Again, it doesn't matter if it exists or not. Okay, so if I go here, path.getFileName, it's going to print dir. Okay, doesn't matter if that's a directory or not. So getFileName will return a file or a directory. Okay, so that's what getFileName always returns. GetFileName will return either I'll say it just a file or directory. Now it will work with relative paths. Okay, so let's see, we are path2. Path2 is equal to paths.get. I am going to do source com Android. Okay, so it works with relative paths. Here, path2.getFileName. Okay, now, so getFileName, easy enough. So getFileName will get you what's to the right. All right. Now, the next command is get.
That last one, Noel, will get you Android, yeah?
Sorry?
That last one there.
Oh yeah, I wrote it. Yeah, sorry, Kieran, hold on, I didn't run it. Gets us Android. Okay.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Right now, so next one is get parent. Okay, so right, so I am taking this path up here. Now, d animal monkey ape human.txt. Okay, so I am going to go parent folder of this file is, we go paths.get path.get parent. Now, get parent is going to get the folder that contains human.txt, which will be d animal monkey ape. Okay, so what this gets, this is the folder that contains our last element in our list. In this case, it's the folder that contains human.txt, which is d animal monkey ape. Yes? Is everyone okay with that? Yes?
Yes.
Yep.
All right. Now, if I put in what's the parent folder of text.txt? Okay, so I am going to create path2 is equal to paths.get, and this is going to be, oops, and it's lowercase p. So path2 is equal to paths.get, so we're going to say text.txt. All right, so I want to see the parent folder of the file. So of the relative path text.txt is. So now we go path2.get parent. Okay, now, so it doesn't really work for relative paths. Okay, so parent folder, as it's a relative path, it can't go above. So when it's a relative path, it can't go above this guy. Okay, that's ground zero. So when it gets to that, it becomes null. So when it's a relative path, when it's a relative path, so I'll put it in here. When it's a relative path, get parent cannot go beyond the folder that is your relative path. In my case, it's this guy up here. So path 2 is a relative path. It's text.txt. So this will return null. Okay? Because this is effectively ground zero. Right? So the get parent doesn't really work once you get to the relative path. So put it here. If the parent is the relative path, which is our application folder, this will return null. Now, if you have folders inside the relative path, let's say for instance, go down here, path2 is equal to paths.get. I'm going to go source com Android examples. Okay. Now the parent of that the relative path. Okay. So the parent of this is a relative path itself. Of this, of the file examples.java is a relative path, which is src com Android. Okay. Is everyone okay with that? Is everyone okay with that?
Yeah. Suppose no.
Yeah.
Suppose you just wanted to find out what the folder was above where the file is, just the one above it. How do you do that?
Well, what you can do, right? So we have examples so you want to find out what folder is just above source, yes?
Yeah, or say the one there, you've got d.animal.monkey.a. If you wanted to find out just to get to monkey, how would you do that?
If you want to get to monkey.
Yeah. Not all the way back.
Well, let's say if you want to go from human to monkey, you have to use these guys, which we haven't done yet.
Okay, fair enough. Sorry. Yeah,
okay. Now, at any point, by the way, if you want to find out what is the parent folder of this guy. It's still relatively simple. All right. All you have to do is this guy. I go path2.to absolute path. There is, so what you can do is the following, right? So you can go path3, which I've already created, is equal to paths.get, and I can do path2.to absolute path. Okay. All right. So path3 is equal to path2 to absolute path. All right. Now you have a, put on here. Now you have an absolute path. Okay. Now you should be able to use get parent with that. So path3.get parent. Okay. So the parent folder of the relative path, right? But if you want to see the full, so this one here is only going to give us source.com.android. Now, if you want to see the full path, it's relatively simple. You just go path2 to absolute path. All right. So that's path3. Path3 is like that. So path3 then is an absolute path. Okay. And you can use get parent with that. Use get parent with that. That will get you the full. So this one here. Now the whole idea of relative paths really, well, they're twofold. They're easier to navigate, number one, and number two, it cuts down all of this shit. Okay, you could quite easily end up with huge addresses, which are hard to read. All right, so path2.get parent, this will return source.can.android. But what we can do is we can convert path2 to an absolute path. All right, we convert that to an absolute path, then you get that. Then if you use get parent on that, it will return the full path name for, so this will return the full path name of okay. Now it's important to remember that that and that are the same thing. All right, that guy and that guy are the exact same thing. The only difference is that is a relative path. That is an absolute path. Okay, but they're pointing to the same place. All right, they're pointing to that folder. That's also pointing to the same folder. So absolute paths and relative paths, whereas they have different, they look different, they're both pointing to the same location. Does everyone understand that? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, right now.
Yeah.
Right now. So, if you have a relative path and the parent folder is the relative path, it's going to return, if the parent is the relative path, this will return null. Okay, So, or if I go here, I will create, so let's say path 3 is equal to path.get. Now I'm going to create C Java code. Oops. Now, if I do get parent on this one, so using get parent on a root drive. So if I go path 3.get parent. Okay. A minute now. If it just by itself. Now, so if it's just, hold on a second, I'm doing this right. Right. So if you just have it, if your path is just a drive letter, okay, it's also going to return null. So if your path is just a drive letter, then get parent will return null. Okay, just like if your parent folder is the relative, is the location of your relative path. Okay. Okay. Okay, if your path is just then the get parent will return null. So this will also return null. Okay. Now, so we've seen get parent. We have seen get file name. So get parent is going to be the folder that contains your int element. Okay. Now, if the folder that contains your int element is the relative, is the folder that is your relative address, it's going to be null. Okay. If you have a path that's just a drive letter and you use get parent on that, it's also going to be null. Now, what is often used, so sometimes, so get parent, now, so get file name is going to get, so we have our address. Okay, so your address is C home website RTE index.html. Now, get file name is going to get us the int. Okay, it's going to get us the rightmost element. Okay, get parent is going to get the folder that contains our int element. All right, now it will return null if it's a relative path and your parent folder is the location of the relative path, or if your path is just a drive letter, that will also return null. So get file name will get us that guy. Get parent will get us that guy. Now, we need something that can get us this. When you're accessing another system, there could be many drive letters on it. C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. Okay. and X usually refers to a network drive. All right. So you might want to access, so you need to know what the drive is. Okay. Now, how we get the drive, I'll show you here. So we're going to get the drive of, where do we go? This one here. No, doesn't exist. Okay, doesn't matter if it doesn't exist or not. All right, so this command is called get root. Okay, so this gets us the leftmost element, usually a drive, not always. Okay, so it's usually a drive, i.e., go to this guy here, this guy. So root of this will be D. Okay, again, it doesn't matter if it exists or not. So again, I'm going to create path1 is equal to paths.get so if I go here, path.root, get root, that returns D. Doesn't matter if it exists or not. Okay, now this only works with only works with absolute paths. Now, get file name works with both relative and absolute paths. Get parent works with absolute and relative paths. Get root only works with absolute paths. All right. So I'll create another genuine one. So we go path 2 is equal to paths dot get. I'm going to go C. I'm going to go Java code. I'm going to go examples.java. Wrong way around. Wrong way around. Right, so I go here, the root of that, it is path2.get root. It's going to return C. Now, if I have a okay, so if I have an absolute path, so I go path3 is equal to paths.get string. I'm going to say source /com /android /examples.java. So we go here, path3.get root. Returns null. Okay, so this does not work on, so makes sense. Okay, so get root does not work on relative paths. This will return null. Okay. Any questions on that? Any questions? Hello?
Yeah, okay, no, fine.
Okay, yeah.
No questions.
Okay, I thought everyone, yes, I know files aren't the most interesting in the world, but what can we say? We have to get through them. All right, now I am going to create this path. Right. So I'm going to create a path that contains this. All right. So I'm going to call this is going to be a path is equal to paths.get. Okay, so I'm going to put that in here. Now delete. Put this on the next line so we can see it. Wrong way around as well. Actually, that should still work. That's a URI. Yeah, that should work. Okay, so double backslash should work. Let me just see that it is working. It's off. So we have path.exists. So files.exists path. Files.exists. And we just put in path. Sorry about that. True. Yeah, okay. Right, so this exists. So I want to print off something like this. So let me just see. So I'm going to go while. I'm going to go inside here. I'm going to go path is equal to path dot get parent. Okay, is equal to null. Okay, and I'm going to say parent is path plus path. Right. Now, what this does is this will keep going up a level. So it goes up to workspace, so it goes up to this folder. Then it goes up to this folder, which is this one here. Then it goes to, I should have to my little pen. All right, so this guy, so that's the parent for that folder. Then the next one, this one, that's the parent for workspace. Then the next one, so that's the parent for Java Programmer 2019. Then C users no left is the parent for that guy. There it is. Then C users is the parent for that guy. Now it will print off C, okay, because it only so C users. Now, it will see that the parent folder is C. It's only when the drive is just that. If that's just the path, that will return null. Okay, so it keeps going on until the path is that guy. So if you try to get the parent of C, there is no parent of C. All right, there is no parent of C. So as soon as it gets to C, it's going to return null. Is everyone okay with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now you could also do an example here. There could be you can have a file in each one of those folders. Okay, there's a file in each one of those folders, and as it's going through each of those folders, it'll access the file. Let's say we have a file called names.txt. There's a names file in each one of those folders. So you could have a buffered input stream, you could have an object input stream, you could have a reader, you could have a file writer in each one of these guys here as well. So you could be writing and reading. So you could be creating files, you could be reading from files, you could be writing to files in each one of these directories as you're going through it. Does everyone understand that? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's an example. You could be, so now when you're creating your app, all the files are created automatically for you. But if you wanted to, you can tell your application to save your files in certain locations, and you do something like that. It would create your directory structure, and as your directory structure is being created, you put certain files in certain folders, and all you have is a loop, or what would actually be easier to do is a stream. Okay, now, so that is get parent. So we
No.
Yeah.
No. Are you saying there that that file didn't exist, or that path didn't exist, that it will create it for you, is it?
You can, yeah. Now there's another command for us. There's actually one command that will create all of those folders for you if they don't exist.
All right, okay.
All right. There is one command. All right. But let's say.
But they're not created now in this situation, no?
No, they're not. But we have them already created.
I know we have. If it was a different one, sorry, yeah.
Yeah. So, if we go back here to A.1. Now, so if I go to here, right? Now, I am going to go, so I'm going to create a file object. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to create, so names.txt. Okay, I'm going to import file. Oh yeah, sorry. New file, names.txt. Now, so what I'm going to do here is do we check again if a file exists? That's it. So if my before, my file dot exists. So if it doesn't exist, if I go so try. Okay, catch. Okay, so how have I done wrong there? Try. Ah, fuck you. Now, what I'm trying to do here is I'm going to create a file called names.txt in. I'm going to create one inside Workspace 2. I'm going to create one inside Java Programmer 2019-2020. I'm going to create one inside the OneDrive. I'm going to create one called NoelF, inside NoelF. I'm going to create inside users. I'm going to create inside C drive. I hope. All right. So I'm just going to run this code. Okay. That seems to have worked. All right. So I should have a file in each. So I should have one in here. Let me just have a look. Refresh. There I am. Text.txt. If I go to, so I'll go to this file or this location. Hold on a minute now here. So this one. So I'll go to this location. So there's names.txt is being created inside there. Look in workspace. I don't have names.txt there. Let me just have a look. Okay, it's not created there either. Right. Let me just see if there are names.txt here anywhere. Names. Okay, it didn't really work properly there. All right. While path.getParent is equal to null. Parent is path if my file doesn't exist. My file.create new file. Okay, it only creates it in one place. Yeah, okay, right. Doesn't work the way I thought it worked, so I'll take that out. But the principle is, you understand what I'm trying to do? I'm trying to create a file in each one of those folders. Yes?
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, I think what's happening there is because it's a relative path, so it's only creating it in here. All right? I'd have to do a little bit of jiggery pokery to get it to actually create inside there. All right? Anyway, yeah, I'll come back to that. I think I know how to fix it. So, now that is get root was the last one we did there. And just before lunch, we are going to do this one here. So static void ex3. Now, this is going to be, as we go here, is absolute loot and to absolute path. Okay, now these are exactly as it says in the tin. These are, so is absolute. We're returns a Boolean. True if the path is absolute. False if relative. And to absolute path. Converts relative path to an absolute path. Okay, so if you have a relative path and you want to use get root on it, so if you have a relative path and you want to use get root in it, all you have to do is you just use to absolute path on the relative path and then call get root on that. All right, so I am going to create a full path. And it's going to be here. That is my relative path. So that's my relative, or that's my absolute path. So path is equal to paths.get, and we're going to go. All right. So this is an absolute path. And the next one here, path2 is equal to paths.get. I'm going to go src com android example.java. Okay, so that's a relative path. We just have time to do is absolute. So we go path dot is absolute. So this is a absolute path, just return true. And we go path true, that is absolute. This should return false. ex3. Right, so be back around 1:30, and we'll continue on with this. Is that okay, everyone?
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll stop the share entirely so that will process the video and everything. So I'll send you another Zoom link around 1:30. Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so see you then, so folks, in an hour.
Hang on, thanks, no.
Bye now.